What's up, gifted family? Welcome to another episode of the show that is the GP YouTube. Just a reminder that if you support what we do here, make sure to go over to giftedperformance.com and sign up for our automated coaching service. For only $1 a day, you'll get access to 15 highly customized training programs, a macronutrient calculator, our meal planning feature that lets you build and save meals based on your macros, as well as access to our private Facebook group. All subscriptions help us in continuing to put out great content to get you to your fitness goals. Thanks for stopping by, and without any further delay, let's get into today's video. Enjoy.
Welcome back, guys. Another episode of the GPP, the Gifted Performance Podcast, where we give you the information and practical takeaways to improve your own general physical preparedness. You know these three faces right here, so you know what's coming at you. It is a bodybuilding, or what I like to call physique improvement, so you don't have to be a bodybuilder. Maybe you're just interested in improving your physique. Q&A. Mr. Dominic Cusa, Mr. Cameron Cheek, and a man who does not want to be gendered, Paul Surferini. How is everyone doing today?
Good. How are you?
Really fucking good, man.
Great. What's your beverage of choice today? Dom's got the White Monster. Paul, what are you sipping on? I'm sipping on some scissor.
It's New
Shout out
Year's.
to Triple Six.
Cup of vodka.
Oh, nice. Getting fucked up very early in the day.
I thought about it. If I didn't have work to do after this, I was going to take shots throughout it and just to see what happened.
Question. And the answers just get better and better. Cam, as always, just blankly staring into the camera, drinking the blood of his enemies. Just the standard beverage from him. It's high in iron, so good job, Cam.
I think it's semen. Man.
Oh, I just splashed coffee in my face. All right. Before we get into,
What do we bring, guys?
before we get in too much trouble with this intro, we're going to jump right into these questions. So on the last Q&A, we discussed carbohydrates, specifically, quote unquote, fast digesting carbohydrates in the intra-workout window. Our question that comes from at A. Kasim, pronunciation, I think I nailed it. Did my best. Dom, clarify?
Asim.
If you say so. If you say so. This gentleman, he asks, do you prefer to have, quote unquote, fast carbs post-workout like dextrose or straight glucose? So let's maybe start. Who wants to unpack this question a little bit with what might be the benefits from a physiological standpoint of actually having fast carbohydrates post-workout? So what is the physiological advantage of that insulin spike post-workout from a muscle protein synthesis versus breakdown standpoint? Who wants it?
So,
I mean, if we have a faster insulin response from a carbohydrate that's going to be digested faster, obviously we know that insulin is going to stop any kind of muscle protein breakdown.
suppress,
not stop. Choose your words carefully. People are going to crush us, Cam. They're coming for us.
Sorry, my high school degree can only do so much.
Paul, what you got?
That's all I was going to say, but I'm pretty sure I was seeing some stuff where like even like beef protein can cause like a decent insulin spike. We all know like whey can. So really, I mean, dude, from my perspective, I think it's like it's probably a good idea to, am I getting too far into the question or did we want to?
No, you're good.
Like it's probably a good idea to sort of replenish like your energy stores for other sort of metabolic or cellular processes. But there's no real, I can't think of a real advantage to getting them in faster. One, your sort of digestion and absorption and all that is going to be at a slower rate post-workout. So your fast digesting carbs are probably going to digest a little slower anyway, but you don't have to have those glycogen stores replenished until your next session, which is probably at least a day away, right? And not only that, you begin to replenish glycogen before you even intake any glycogen through other substrate. Like you broke down like what is it, like triglycerides? So those glycerols get turned into glucose. Lactate gets turned into glucose, and probably bunch of other things. So other amino acids, stuff like that. So yeah, man, you just need, it's probably a good idea to have some carbs, and probably big picture, just fulfilling your sort of daily needs of carbs.
Let me dive one layer deeper. Let's take this question a little bit further. So from a standpoint of like massing, so when you're in a caloric surplus versus dieting, specifically like hard dieting, let's say like contest prep dieting, do you see one of those situations being more advantageous for having carbohydrates in that post-workout window, or is it still kind of the same answer where the difference is going to be kind of negligible in the long run?
Potentially. I mean, I think there's definitely less of a need in a surplus. And it depends on how big the surplus is, but like most people have to realize, if you eat like this big ass fucking meal, and your meals are likely to be larger in a surplus, like that could sort of, I guess, be in circulation, digestion, all that, in the process of being absorbed for like 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, depending on meal composition and size. So, I mean, like, if you're training in the afternoon and you have 3 or 4 meals up to that training session, you're kind of always covered throughout the day anyway. So like maybe in a deficit, but I guess it sort of depends on your energy demands post training as well. So like if you're not like you're not doing anything after training, you're sitting around, like the only time maybe if you're doing 2 sessions a day while you're dieting, so like you got your cardio in the morning, training in the afternoon, or training in the morning, cardio in the afternoon, that could maybe make sense, especially if you're doing legs on that day.
Yeah, I think maybe in like a very high intensity training context with multiple sessions a day, then you might make the argument of like, all right, let's get some fast acting carbohydrates in immediately in that post workout window to fuel that next session. But I am not of the opinion, and I leave the window open here to being proved wrong at some point, but I am not of the opinion that in a bodybuilding contest prep setting, low intensity, steady state cardio in the morning, and then, you know, a traditional 60 to 90 minute bodybuilding hypertrophy training session in the afternoon is something where you're going to run into issues of complete glycogen depletion, where like, oh fuck, I missed my carbs, like after my morning cardio, like I'm going to be completely destroyed from my workout this afternoon.
No, yeah. And you're having meals in between those. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So unless you're at the end of the contest prep and you're really having to pick and choose where your carbs are going. And then once again, like I said, that only matters unless you're doing upper body cardio. Like that only really matters on leg day, you know?
Yeah. I also don't know if there's a lot of practicality to getting, you know, a big chunk of 50 to 70 grams of carbohydrates from dextrose or glucose, something like that post workout, when your daily carbohydrate allotment for, you know, a big guy at the end of contest prep is like 200 grams. Like you're going to use, you know, 40% of your carbohydrates for the day for a dextrose shake post workout. Like, is that the smartest thing that you can do from like a longevity standpoint in a contest prep diet?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That'd be like one of the worst things for most people. Like most people, like it's great. Optimality is awesome, but most people are going to want to be, especially towards the end of a contest prep, focusing on just making it through the contest prep.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and Dom kind of talked about this in the way that he chooses his carbohydrate supplements. Dom, do you see a big difference between these carbohydrate supplements? Because as we've kind of moved through the years with this supplement being a big subset of the market, it was dextrose, just straight dextrose. And then, it was like the waxy maize starch. And then it was the cyclic dextrin. And now it's these multi-branched dextrins. Do you see, from a physiological standpoint, a big difference moving from one to the next?
I think, well, on a term of like intracarb, maybe, just like how fast you can get you don't want like a super high insulin spike while you're training. So like, cause then you're just asking to, go hypo and whatnot. But I feel like the cluster dextrins are probably a better choice while you're actually training, just because they are slower in like an insulin response way. But like, I know a few guys that love like dextrose post workout, but to me, it kind of just almost feels like a waste. Like, just because of like, it's going to take a second for your blood flow distribution to come back. Like, you got to wait like an hour till like the resting heart rate even comes back down to normal. And then why waste all that on dextrose when you could just eat something that you digest longer over a period of time? I don't know what the craze is about dextrose, like post workout. I get it, I guess. Like, oh, I want to replenish my glycogen as fast as I can. But like eating rice cakes would have like a similar insulin response, and you'd actually be eating something physical, not just drinking something. And then too, like, I feel like people don't do well with a lot of fluids post workout. At least me, I can't drink a bunch of water or a shake even that's too big in volume after a workout.
That's weird. I had a thought real quick. Just, I guess maybe a thought experiment. Like, I think in bodybuilding, we always hear about the new carb, right? Carbolin, fucking cyclic dextrin, whatever. People go back to dextrose. But has the formula for Gatorade changed?
I think they've changed it around a little bit, because if you and I have no basis for this in looking at the formula, but people talk about how Gatorade used to taste a lot different. So I think they've changed maybe the sucrose to glucose ratio in there, so it's not quite as sweet. I honestly have no fucking idea. I'm talking on my ass.
It's still mostly a mixture of dextrose and fructose, essentially.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I sort of wonder, because when it comes to companies that make supplements, Gatorade has got to be killing everybody else. They put probably more money into research and development than anybody else. And, for the longest time, they've sort of been like, oh, dextrose and fructose at this combination is really good for getting glucose into the body really fucking fast. But they're not fucking around with branched chain dextrin. Or branched dextrin or whatever. So I almost kind of wonder, is this just kind of made up new bodybuilder stuff? I don't know. I'm sure there's research behind it and stuff, but you would think that if we had new amazing carbs that were better than any other carbs, probably somebody like Gatorade would be hopping on it.
And there wouldn't be all these new other kinds coming out, because one would just be the monopoly of all of it.
Yeah, if one truly worked better. But there is some interesting stuff about fructose digestion, isn't there? About how fructose has to make that extra pass through the liver, I believe. Someone correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yeah, no, you're right. So I'm pretty sure all carbohydrate, if it's not in glucose form, has to be converted into glucose. So fructose has to be converted into glucose via the liver, I suppose. But I think the whole thing behind it is that you can transport more fructose and dextrose together versus just dextrose.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess that might be one reason why you don't want to pound an obscene amount of fruit post-workout. It's just because you would be getting such a high amount of fructose. I don't know. I've heard people say that before.
Well, I think the fruit thing is a bad idea. I think the fruit thing's a bit overshot, blown out of proportion.
For sure.
There's not that much fructose in a lot of fruits, complex sugar wise. Like I think an apple is like one of the highest fructose containing fruits.
I think the demonization of fructose comes from like sugary drinks and syrup.
Yeah, like high fructose corn syrup.
Yep. Yeah. And some of the research on, because there was research on like liver toxicity and with fructose, but I think some of the dosages that they gave either people or the rats, it was like the equivalent of like people. Yeah, it was like the equivalent of like a human eating like 200 grams of fructose a day or something
like
absurd.
People don't realize those studies, like in rodents, they're designed to create an effect.
Yeah,
like
to show the mechanism.
We're giving you cancer with this, basically. Like that's what the study is for.
All right, Mr. Kassem, that is your answer right there on your fast carbs post-workout. Hope you liked it. The TLDR probably doesn't matter that much. Go with what you enjoy the most, sir. All right, the next question comes from, I believe he's a client of yours, Dobbs, Gabe Larner.
No, he's a friend.
Okay, good friend, good pal, friend of the channel. Gabe Larner, he asks 2 questions here. We'll hit the first one first. The first question is, what is more important, changing exercise selection or changing volume/intensity? Let's start by answering this question from a microcycle to microcycle, because there's a lot of ways to kind of dig into this question here. Let's start small. We'll say from a microcycle to microcycle context, what's more important, changing your exercise selection or changing volume and intensity? Who wants to jump on that one? Paul, Mr. Program Design, let's hear it.
Sure. So from the short, in your shortest durations, it's definitely not exercise selection. It would probably be intensity, especially if we're talking about like intensity of loading or intensity of effort. But yeah, you definitely don't want to change your movement selection too often, since you're going to be using your movement selection and progression in that as a sort of to give you feedback on how you're progressing, your best short-term indicator that things are moving in the right direction.
Any additions to that? I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on things. I think the only time I'm probably getting ahead, but exercise selection changes. I'd say like if it's like in a short duration, if it's causing like a lot of pain, maybe you could change it. But like if that's not the issue, then exercise selection I think is like not going to be the first thing you change in a short duration. Definitely intensity, like Paul was saying, like making sure there's a different kind of effort change, then that can be something that you'd see in a short duration of time.
One thing I might add too is it may depend on the athlete and their level of development. Because personally, I feel like the newer the athlete is into their training, the longer you can ride out those more complex movements and just kind of run them into the ground. You may see somebody that's more advanced as a training age over 5 years, where a compound movement may change, I don't know, maybe every 3 to 5 months, something like that, before things start, kind of not really progressing anymore. Whereas you take someone who's in their first 1 to 2 years of training and you can progress with a back squat for, a longer duration of time. And one thing to keep in mind too is when it comes to changing movements, a general rule of thumb is the simpler the movement and the less joints that it's going to be working, the quicker that movement might change compared to something that's more complex.
That's an interesting, yeah, I feel like I wouldn't argue that. Real quick, I just wanted to say, just to kind of really establish it, from a bodybuilding and hypertrophy perspective, I feel that you should actually avoid novelty for as long as you can, assuming that things are going well, no injury, progression is continuing to go. Run those motherfuckers into the ground.
Yeah, and it's just continuing on with that point, there's a lot of ways to introduce novelty outside of like changing your exercise selection, changing the tempo, adding a pause, elevating the heels. Like there's a lot of ways that you can keep the same movement. If you guys want to use barbell back squat as the example here, or Dom's favorite, the Smith squat, like we can change the tempo after 2 months, can change the reps after 2 months. We can add a pause after a couple months. Like what you want to do is just create an artificial limiter to the amount of load that someone can use from the start, progress that until it doesn't progress anymore, introduce some sort of other artificial limiter that makes the movement harder, and then just repeat that process. Like, and this is something that happens over the time course of like months and months. If you do it right, you can keep the same movement in for 6 months straight. The real reason why I swap movements out for a lot of my people is that like a lot of them, they just get too goddamn strong for their own good. It's like they all of a sudden they started back squatting with 155 and now 6 months later we're at like 275. I'm like, all right, that's a little bit too much for you. Let's switch it over to like some front squats or switch it over to a leg press or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely a consideration. And also just why with some people, you just don't pick certain movements, Yeah. Like Johnny can do 17 reps with 430 pounds on his back. I don't like to give him squats. Like,
that man gets a leg press.
Yeah. So like, and yeah, like you said, I mean, there's so many ways to program, and you're right. There are a variety of ways to introduce novelty. And when you sort of look at this question, is it important to change volume or intensity or novelty? All of these things are kind of all happening at the same time, because you may work on somebody's work capacity, or something like that. Like you may give them a lot of submaximal sets of 8s, and then maybe you give them maximal sets of 8s, or maybe you start with a tempo and you start weaning that tempo down and increasing load. And then, but with that, volume is changing as well,
Probably more so than progression, something that influences my exercise selection choices, because I almost exclusively run specialization cycles for all of my bodybuilders, where we focus heavily on a certain muscle group or a couple muscle groups at once. And that influences my exercise selection a lot more than something simple like progression. Like you can get progression, like you said, a lot of other ways.
Yeah. I kind of have a feeling his question, I mean, we could throw a twist into it here and say like, okay, what is more important if I want to bring something up? Is it going to be constantly changing the exercise, or is it going to be adding volume and intensity? Like, am I trying to build more?
So here's the way I'm sort of reading into it, is almost like, regardless of what we're trying to do, like, let's say we're doing back specialization. All right, we've set like sort of our movements, and we have our starting volume, we have our starting poundages. Like over time, like over weeks and over months, like what is going to be, or I guess I would say, I feel like the question's more of a short-term thing. Like what is most important? Because there are some people that are in the camp of, think that number of sets is a little more important to manipulate than the load. And I'm kind of in the middle, but there's one thing I want to say, and which biases me a little more towards load, is just, that's the one thing that has just always worked from the beginning of time. Like you add load to the bar, eventually you're stronger, you can add more load to the bar. And if you've been doing that for a while, like your volume is in a pretty good spot. Like that probably doesn't need to change much on the short term. Like it can, and that's a fine strategy, but there's no like demand. You have to change the number of sets you're doing if that's how you're defining volume from week to week.
Yeah, no. And if you want to look at it from like a raw percentage standpoint, like if you start someone on a cycle on like their week 1 of their mesocycle and they're doing 2 sets per week, and you're of the camp that you want to add 1 set per week to that movement, by the end of the meso, that person's doing 5-6 sets of that movement. If you look at the amount of volume from a percentage standpoint that you've added, I mean, what is that, going from 2 to 6 sets? What percent increase is that? I didn't take math class. Math was hard for me. 300%, 3 times as much. Yeah, 300% increase. So like, if you just look at it from a raw number standpoint, like 300% increase in volume, did you really need to increase that much to make progress? Whereas if you take more of Paul's like perspective, this adding small amounts of weight, or better yet, even just adding reps from week to week, you're increasing your volume by, 10, 15. That's something that you can stretch out for significantly longer. And it's at far less risk to you as a person. It's, driving the speed limit, driving as fast as your car will go. If you drive as fast as your car will go, maybe you'll get there faster, but you might run into some technical issues along the way. You dig? You dig? So Gabe's second question, I think, is honestly even more short term than that first question. I would agree with you guys that the first question seems like a very microcycle question. So we gave you a little bonus going meso to meso. You're welcome, Gabe. Just remember us when you make it big. Gabe asks, what variables do you believe must be manipulated? This is a funny question. Must be manipulated for overload/progression. What variables must be manipulated for overload progression? I don't think any single variable has to be manipulated. It just doesn't have to be something like where you have to just choose one. You can add a little weight to the bar. You can add some reps. You could make Paul mad. You could add a set. You could, if you're in like a work capacity phase, let's say this is outside of a hypertrophy standpoint, you're in a work capacity phase, shorten the rest time. You could do a lot of things here. What else would you guys progress?
I don't think there's like a must, but I think like as long as you're doing one of those, either you beat your reps or you added load or you added a set, but kept all the others the same, you're progressing some way or shape or form, right? If you increase load, you beat load. That's your progressive there. If you increased your reps from the previous week, there's your progression. If you increased by a set, there's more progression. Like you could pick any of those and do one. You don't have to, there's not one set in stone. That's what you have to do every week. And Paul's program is a good example of that, at least the way he does my programming. Like 1 week it's, hey, we're going to just beat reps. No added sets, no added load, just beat your reps. The next week it's, we might add a set or we're just going to add load. And then after that, it's either we add a set or we add load again. So it's not like consistently the same thing every week. It's some sort of progression through a different variable.
And Paul, let me underhand you a softball here. Why, in your opinion, is it going to be your best bet to just change one variable at a time, as opposed to saying, all right, from week 1 to week 2, we're going to add a little bit of load. I'm going to tell you to beat your reps, and we're going to add a set.
I mean, even that, I think, could be fine, assuming you're not, like, trying to add too much of one thing, Like, if you're doing a massive load jump and you're adding 1 or 2 sets, or you're going for a lot more reps, I think probably the only big issue with that is just running yourself into the ground a little faster. Did you have something else in mind that I'm not thinking of?
No, I just think it from a standpoint of like, let's say you change all 3 at once, and then the client reports back to you, hey, that was a little bit too much this week. You're kind of in a bit of a conundrum there, because you're like, all right, which aspect of it was too much? Was it too much of a volume increase from adding the set? Was it too much of a weight increase because I increased the load as well? From my perspective, and in my opinion, I like to change one variable at a time. So if I, tell Dom, all right, this week, we're going in there and beating your reps, and Dom says, oh man, I say, we're going to add some load, and Dom comes back and he's like, man, my elbows are really kind of jacked up this week. I can say, all right, the load increase is what beat him up there. Let's bring the load down and let's progress one of our other variables. I always like to just change one variable at a time. If something goes wrong, I know exactly why it went wrong.
Yeah, I think that's a really great way to look at it for sure.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I think often if it's something injury related though, like you never know, it could be from like
could be cumulative.
It could be accumulative from several weeks of bad habits, even including things that you're not programming, like their form could suck and they just haven't sent you a video so that you could fix it, and it sucked for months or years. I do think, though, you could probably make some good guesses as to what the problem is if you did all that and you had their programming numbers in front of you. You know, like if they went into set one and it was trash, and you look and they added 30 pounds to their close grip bench press or something, and you're like, we probably should have added 1, 2, 3% in loads, so something around 5 to 10 pounds. Or if you saw that their performance crashed in later sets, or seemed really poor at the end of their workout, you might have increased volume too much earlier in their workout and stuff like that. So you could probably pick it apart some still and probably get some good information out of it too.
I think the load progression is one thing that really bites people in the ass. Like, they just try to make too big of jumps, and then it just, like, it might not affect them that training session, but like later on in the week, it might hurt them down the road. And I think that's a big thing people don't, people take for granted, because, like, you know, the whole ego gym thing, like, I want to make a 10-pound PR, like, or whatever. Like, they're too embarrassed to put 2.5-pound plates on their bar.
Yeah.
When in reality, that's still progression. I trained yesterday. I increased my load literally by 2.5 pounds. But to me, that's progression.
We're proud of you. We're proud of you.
Dude,
that's progression.
Like, if you start at a, reasonable distance from failure, new phase, whatever, like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to progress like that for a fucking while. But like, when you do that for a month, that's 20 pounds on a lift, and you can't do that forever. But 2 months later, 3 months later, we talked about keeping these movements for as long as we can. Like, that adds up to a huge poundage. And a lot of times when you do large jumps and loads, you kind of like smack into that wall to where you've been doing movement for half the time and you're already just kind of grinding against it, beating yourself up.
Yeah. And then I think it eats into their like execution of the movement too. Like, if they try to make too big of a jump in their squat, like they might be able to do the movement, but who knows if it adjusted the way they came up in their squat.
It's not the same movement anymore.
I'll say this. Yeah, like squat, sure, but I see it all the time in bodybuilding programming with like lat pull downs, cable rows. They just turn into trash. Like, they look good on week 1. They look like shit on week 4.
Yeah. There's no shame in just keeping the load the same, adding like 2 reps. You added 2 reps over your 4 sets of the day. Congrats. You are better than your last session. You can't go broke making a profit. So make your small profit, get the fuck out of the gym, go home, rest up, and let's do it again the next day. So Gabe, sounds like you need to slow your roll a little bit with that progression. Just kidding. I don't know anything about you, Gabe. You seem like a really nice guy, and we love you. All right. Our next question comes from, we're going to skip the joke one. If we have time at the end, we'll hit it. So, Liv, that's a lot of Paul's penis. That's what you came here for. Pancakes.
This thing is sitting under me, winking right now. She wants attention.
All right. Last one comes from @JMurray413. Jay Murray asks, stim versus non-stim pre-workout. And my favorite question that's attached to any question, which is the best? The best. No nuance. Fuck critical thinking. Pick one. It's the best. We're done here. Dom, which one's the best?
Non-stim.
Oh, fuck you. I disagree.
It's the only thing in the supplement that works.
I agree. All right,
I'll say. Let me say why. Why I think non-stims are the best, because they actually have things like citrulline in them when the pre's don't. A lot of companies now, they sell both, and their stim is just like caffeine malate, teacrine, just a bunch of stims in one. And then their non-stim is all the pump stuff. So if I had to pick one, I want the pump
Going
stuff.
to the gym today, I'm going to add 50 pounds to my bench press 2 nights. What do you think is going to help me more? Your citrulline malate or the 500 milligrams of caffeine and 2 cups of coffee?
Paul's got a point. Is there a rebuttal? Is there a rebuttal, sir?
No.
Yeah, you can only use 200 milligrams of caffeine.
If I'm trying to hashtag outwork and win the day, I'm going 600 megs of caffeine, and we are going absolutely nuts tonight.
And a bronchase.
Hell yeah, brother. All right, let me jump in here. All right, so I think that there are some actual good takeaways on this question. The first one that jumps out to me right away would probably be like timing of this stuff. Is like, if you are someone that, you know, you work the 9-to-5 job and you get off work and then you go to the gym after work, I would say the non-stim has to be the choice here. It has to be the choice, especially because a lot of these pre-workouts now are coming, even something like a Bang energy drink is coming loaded with 300 milligrams of caffeine at a bare minimum. Make sure you watch the podcast with Dr. Allison Brager, where we talk about some of those things about timing of caffeine, the half-life of caffeine, and how that 300 milligrams of caffeine at 5 p.m. or at 6 p.m., whatever it is 150 milligrams of caffeine at 11 p.m. at midnight when you're trying to go to sleep. So if you're trying to maximize that high quality sleep, you have to kind of manage this stuff appropriately. If you are someone who works out earlier in the day, I think you have to look at from a standpoint of like, all right, what do I want to get out of my pre-workout? Do I want what Dom's talking about? Some more of the like a high quality product that has like those non-stim pump ingredients, your citrulline, your beta alanine. There's a million other ones out there. Or am I more so looking to just get super hopped up like Paul, go absolutely balls out to the gym and actually just crush the weights? If that's the case, then you want to choose something that's got a lot more of the stims in it. That's my input there. Neither is the best. You should probably have one of each. Use them when you need them. Any other input from the peanut gallery? Cam, anything to add?
You go ahead, Cam. You got anything?
No, I mean, my main thing, I like what Ryan hit on about taking it before bed, just because that's something that's so, like, I do it all the time and don't even, like, I just forget, don't even think about it. So I think that's big to keep in mind. Just because if your sleep messes up, it can just be a domino effect. But man, whatever you train best at, that's what I just say. Whatever has your logbook looking good, which is going to require sleep as well. So
that's true. I used to do this thing where I trained late and I would mix up a scoop of pre-workout, but I would sip on it slowly as I got ready and drove to the gym. And as soon as it hit, I just stopped drinking it. So I'd end up with like 75 milligrams of caffeine versus the 300 or something. That was like a strategy. So that was probably helpful. What do you think, Ryan? I got a question about fatigue management and always lifting in an aroused state, because you're using these crazy pre-workouts, some of them with gray area banned substances or just high doses of caffeine?
I would say, as with most things, we should start with the minimum effective dose there of caffeine. Like, you know, start around that 100 milligram mark. Does it get you what you want? If not, proceed up by, 25 to 50 milligram increments until you find that minimum dosage that gets you what you want, the stimulatory effect that you're actually looking for. But that's not the way that most people go. It's like meme culture around fitness has created this like atmosphere where it's like, okay, the scoop says the product says do not exceed 3 scoops in 24 hours. That means I need to start with 3 scoops. And then if I have to work my way up from there, I'm a fucking badass. I'm a warrior. I'm part of the iron game. I can continue to increase it because I am superhuman. Mm-hmm. So let's dial that attitude down and let's bring it back to, hey, let's start with a cup of coffee before you work out. Feel good? Feel like you can get what you want out of it? Then good. Let's stick with that. And if we have to go up from there, we will. Not blast it from day one.
I guess I was asking, I don't really think it's that big of a deal, but you remember when people were talking about how maybe it's more important for a powerlifter getting ready for a meet or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like people were talking about how you shouldn't always lift in a aroused state because your aroused RPE 8 is actually a 9 or
Yeah.
IR or whatever.
That's part of it. There's also really high dosages of caffeine can actually have an analgesic effect as well. So like if you're, maybe working through some sort of nagging injury, your knee is bothering you a little bit, your elbow is bothering you a little bit. If you take enough caffeine, you get a bit of a pain numbing response from that. And you might be training through something that you need to actually pay attention to. But the same thing goes, like, you train on 900 milligrams of caffeine every single day. You're a powerlifter. You go to the powerlifting meet, like 900 milligrams ain't going to cut it for that day, that big day. So you've got to what's the increase from 900 milligrams? So I had a guy that I used to train Olympic weightlifting at my old gym with, and the guy would, no joke, he would drink 3 bangs before his workout. 3 bangs. That's 900 milligrams of caffeine. And it's like, okay, what does this guy do on meet day? Meet day rolled around. He's got a bang shooter. So like the shooter starts with that. I think those are like 200, 300 milligrams. And then he drinks 4 more as he's warming up. So where do you go from there? When that stops working, where do you go from there? One day he's competing at a meet, forgets his caffeine, forgets his bangs at home, too far away to go get them. At the meet, worst meet of his life, because he doesn't even know anymore what it feels like to train without that stuff. So I would agree with you that people are a little bit too much reliant on the product and are running the dosages a little bit too high. There was another part of your question too. What was it?
No, I think that was it. Just in terms of always lifting aroused and the fatigue that comes from that, like burning yourself out in training a little early on. Like I said, probably more important to a powerlifter getting ready for a meet. Pancake is losing her shit.
Hey, Pancake.
But yeah, dude, 900 what is the recommended performance enhancing dose? 3 to 600 milligrams or 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram?
Yeah, 3 to 6, 4 to 6. I've even seen some people say 5 to 9 milligrams per kilogram for like the most important events. 5 to 9. Yeah, 5 to 9 is a lot. That's 900 milligrams for a 220-pound male at the top end of that. That's a lot.
One thing
I'd have a heart attack.
One thing that I'd add too, while we're on the topic of these high doses of caffeine and stimulants, and for someone to be mindful of, is one, I've gone into workouts where I've taken someone's pre-workout that either had like some kind of yohimbine in it, DMAA, something where you're just not used to it and you're getting the shakes and your heart rate's super elevated. You get high anxiety in the gym. It can almost even get to a point where you feel weaker because you don't feel as stable, so being mindful of that, because that can most definitely negatively impact your performance. And two, for somebody that may be trying to gain weight and just really struggles with it, the higher the stims you take, your appetite's more often than not going to take a hit as well. So if you're someone that struggles to get food in, you're taking an opportunity where you could have an elevated sense of hunger from training to have opportunity to get your food in, and you're coming off of a workout with a suppressed appetite from all the stimulants you just had.
Cam, that's a great fucking point. I love it. Both of those, the anxiety side of things and the hunger side of things.
Cam wasn't around back in the day when we had 1,3 DMAA, and you would drink it.
3D, baby.
You would drink it, not want to eat for 5 or 6 hours, and have the softest boners.
No, I was.
Cam's like, no, I had soft boners.
No, wait, no, guys, I must have had some.
No, I remember. I think I was in middle school, and I remember a bunch of like the high school lifters and stuff taking it and getting up there for like the spring training when I was in the 8th grade, about to go to high school. And I remember the guy, like, they treat it like it's just like drugs in the locker room. Like, can I get a scoop? And like, no, only the starting offense can get some. Like, and just acting like it was the craziest thing in the world because you had to be 18 to buy it. And we'd be like, hey, man, like asking some senior, like, can you buy me some? Can you get some? Because I remember there was that one. What was another one? The Mesomorph, the old formula.
1MR was pretty nutty.
Shit.
I think the first generation high.
1MR, holy shit.
1MR was nuts. But then I think Hyde came out and it was 1.3 DMA and like 4 milligrams of caffeine, I think, or something.
But
like
they banned that formula, I think, when I was like 15 or something. Like I just got into high school when they started banning it.
Me and my buddies, when we were leaving school, we would go straight from school to the gym to lift. There was like 4 of us, and we would all like hang around our cars and drink our Jack 3D before we left. So it would be heading like on the drive, and we would fucking race to the gym, and we're all doing like 160 on I-95, just fucking rolling, just flying. Oh my god, boo! What the?
Hold one and ready to go.
What the hell are you doing, boo? So I'm super jacked up one day, and I'm in like the middle lane, and my buddy is like racing me over here, and like the turn is right up here, and I'm like, this motherfucker, I'm not getting beat today. From the middle lane, I rip e-brake and just crank this in there, car straight into like this concrete, I don't even know what it was, like pagoda or something like that. Totaled my car. And I blame Jack 3D. So don't let your kids take Jack 3D. They'll get fucked up and crash their cars.
Now they're going to find this video and sue us.
They are. Yeah. Still don't think they fixed that sign, but it's a memorial to me. All right, last one of the day. It's a joke question, unless Liv is just really, really curious here. At lift.live, congrats on your collegiate nationals. Collegiate Nationals Figure Championship, coached by the one and only at Team Kuza, the man, the myth, the legend. She asks, pineapple on pizza, ? I'll jump in first, because I don't really like pizza to begin with. Plain cheese pizza is fucking horrible, terrible. Throw some pineapple on there, it's a little bit better. It's slightly better because pineapple is good. So I'm a pineapple on pizza because plain pizza tastes like dick. The rest of you, let's hear your bad answers.
You're a piece of shit, first of all. Okay. You were raised out of a dumpster. All right. So, I mean, dude, that's like the universal test. You must have only had bad pizza, because that's the universal test to know if a pizza place is good.
No, I just had too much pizza.
If they truly make good pizza, you get a slice of cheese pizza and you're like, damn, that's good fucking pizza. And it is. So, first of all, I don't know, man. I'm kind of like, fuck this question. Like, just because, I mean, like, fuck. Like, pineapple's fucking good on pizza, cool, like, whatever. But there are so many more interesting pizzas these days. You can put fucking anything on pizza. No one gives a fuck about whether you like pineapple on pizza. It's good, okay? It's okay. It's not my first choice.
I had
What about, like, anchovies, Paul?
Yeah, fuck that. That's just weird.
Last week it was good, and it was like barbecue chicken, bacon, like those sauteed onions or the caramelized onions and pineapple, and it was good.
Paul, let me ask you a question. Does pizza get better the more stuff you add to it?
I think there's a middle ground. I think you can put too much shit on pizza.
Like, but adding, so like just as a general like concept, as like an ideology, adding toppings to pizza makes it better.
So I love cheese pizza, dude. I love cheese pizza, dude. I bread and cheese. Fuck the sauce. Like, I love bread and cheese. Like, they're two fucking amazing things. But like, I also like cool, crazy pizzas, man. Like, I love a good Alfredo chicken pizza, dude. I love pizzas with bacon on it. I love pizzas with meatballs on it, sausage on it, dude. I like fucking pizzas with like ricotta cheese. I like everything, dude. Dude, pizza is an art.
So like, what's the pizza for you that has the best toppings on it? Like, give me your pizza with the best toppings.
Honestly, dude, I think now not every pizza Like, you can't just go to any pizza place and order this pizza and it's just great pizza. But like a really good chicken Alfredo pizza, dude, like I think that's tough to beat, man. Alfredo.
Okay, so let me one step further. That chicken Alfredo pizza that you're currently giving yourself an erection about, do you choose that over just a plain cheese pizza?
Dude, I'm a fat kid. Like, I can't, like, I'm ordering pizza. Like, it doesn't matter.
You're like a pizza politician. Just answer the fucking question. It's a simple question. Which fucking slice are you gonna choose?
I might want some slices of cheese, and like, there's 5 people at our house. We only need 2 pizzas. I'm getting 4. Like, you know what I mean?
Dude, I'm crying. It's hard.
All right, Dom. Let's hear your pizza answer.
It's not as complex as Paul's, but
Paul gave us like a full pizza anthology. Let me tell you about fucking meatballs.
I can't even think.
He just muted himself.
All right, dude.
I'm back. I'll eat pineapples on pizza.
There you go, Liv. Are you happy? Did you get what you want, Olivia? Is this what you want from us? People who are listening to this on Spotify just going to be confused as shit. Some guy yelling about meatballs, some guy crying because he's laughing too hard. But that's what you get here. That's what you signed up for. That's what you subscribed for.
Just, in case anybody was wondering, Cam's just staring into the screen with a blank, soulless face.
He is.
Cam, what do we bring?
Down. He's defeated. Cam, you're not allowed to say anything. I'm about to outro real quick. Put your fucking self on mute. There will be no comments this time.
Dude, this whole time, when I brought it back up, I've been thinking, what was it that I said afterwards?
Paul, why would you do that? All right, guys, another episode. We will post another Ask Me Anything on all of our stories. That's at Team Kuza, at Cameron_Cheek, at Pauly_Rocket, and at @the_Squadfather, or at Gifted Performance. That's where you can find us on the Instagrams. Make sure you request to join our public Facebook group where we discuss all sorts of things. Pineapple on pizza, training progression, all that good stuff. We talk about all of it. If you search Gifted Performance on Facebook, you will find that. Check out the website for all of your coaching needs. That's giftedperformance.com. Dom has something to add.
They gifted.
What do we bring, Dom?
You heard it from Mr. Kuza himself, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, stay motherfucking gifted. Cam, say shit. Bye.